LCTR here, and there's one game that I haven't looked at in a while. It's a Battlefield game. And of course there aren't any new ones. But what about a currently free Battlefield game set in the Star Wars universe? Well, that's the long and short of the newest game to grace the Epic Games' lengthy list of titles that they've given away. So let's look at Battlefront 2 in 2021. Is it worth playing? So, Battlefront 2, you might quite not remember playing the beta, or even remember people playing the game on release, but you almost certainly saw the ripples from its launch. They were not the pleasant, soft ripples on a pond, though. These were the large, unwelcome, odious ripples of something not quite right. Yes, at the original launch in 2017, Battlefront 2 had problems, and that's kind of underselling it. Not technical problems, though. These were problems of monetization and progression. There were loot boxes and unlocks, and then perhaps the icing on top of that was the birth of a meme that people still remember today, the sense of pride and accomplishment statement. That Reddit comment, I believe, is still the most downvoted comment in history, and it currently has 68,000 downvotes at the time of writing this. It was a reply to a thread titled, "Seriously, I paid $80 to have Vader locked?" which kind of speaks to the state of that side of the game at launch. But we aren't in 2017 now, we're in 2021, so how does all that history reflect on how the game is actually today to play? Well, that nasty monetization stuff has basically gone. There are ghosts and echoes where you can see that side of the game might have functioned before. Things like an all too elaborate loot crate opening animation that basically doesn't get much use anymore, or the subtle use of the word collection, where there's that sort of psychological push to unlock as much as possible. But the truth is, most of that stuff is all unlocked now. You can play any number of the hero characters, Luke, Leia, Han Solo, all those folks, right after installing now. The only thing that still seems locked are these star cards that act as buffs or perks to your class, which you can opt to unlock with points that you earn as you play, and the weapon unlocks that mostly seem tied to missions that you complete in-game. The TLDR of that more famous part of the game's history is that this isn't the game that launched to much justified criticism. This feels reformed and open, that it's on Epic Games as the Celebration Edition actually feels about right. It's a celebration of what the game has become. And just a quick aside to say, if you are enjoying this video, please do tap the thumb up button. It helps me out with YouTube and discoverability and all stuff like that. And if you tap that subscribe button as well, then really that is appreciated too. Thank you so much. So with all that being said, what's the game actually like to play? It has a Battlefield feel for me for starters, which is certainly a good thing. That fluid, slick movement and animation that sees you charge around the map is here in spades. There are differences though. One major point is that the game obviously defaults to third person. My gut reaction is to prefer first person, but after playing for a while, there's a light-heartedness about the game that feels served by that camera choice. That only in Battlefield slightly slapstick side to these games somehow works well with that camera following you. I think the speed of the movement and the pace of the character's legs moving as you run along at sort of improbable speed helps to reinforce that too. There's none of the destruction that you might expect from a normal Battlefield title though, but the maps are varied across many familiar locations from the original films through to the more recent additions. The slick AAA pop-ups and level unlock graphics are expected and nice to see. They're like a little reward for doing well in game and are pretty meticulously designed to feel part of the Star Wars universe's whole style. I like the little touches to gamify the reload animations as well for some of the heavy weapons. That's a nice touch that I really like to see. There are some variations in game modes with hero battles where there's only a few players and everyone plays an actual named character from the world. Though to be honest, I tended, a bit like Battlefield really, to gravitate to the higher player count game modes for a more epic feel. There are single player story missions and co-op missions too, but to be honest, those don't provide huge value to me. I'm not too sure how everyone else feels about them, but do drop a comment with your thoughts on those. And although I'm mainly playing in the higher player count modes, the ones that basically replicate the rush mode from Battlefield basically, it's still only 20 versus 20. It feels like it keeps some semblance of structure and doesn't descend into the absolute mayhem that Battlefield often thrives in. As this is a game based in the Frostbite engine, the heart of the Battlefield series, the visuals and audio are perhaps everything you hoped that they might be. The maps and models look superb. There's a real cinematic feeling to playing, and no, I'm not talking about low frame rates. The terrains are varied and never less than detailed and a joy to run around in. They feel true and honest to the spaces you imagined while watching the films. It's not just the desert or forest locations that your mind might first jump to either. There's rocky terrain and underground bunkers and Deathstar interiors to charge around. And although this game feels heavily Battlefield inspired, the visual effects side feels pleasingly adjusted to the Star Wars universe. That style that permeates through all of the movies is replicated in Battlefront 2 and has that hyper-real cinematic feel that again feels true to the world that people love. The audio dovetails well with the visuals. It all feels lifted from the films and exactly as you'd hope to hear in a Star Wars game. As you might imagine, Battlefield staples like the War Tapes mode that I really love aren't featured here, and I'm not sure that they would work and would feel in keeping either. This isn't trying to be a serious kind of visceral title. This is more about submerging people in the world that they probably saw as kids, and to that end, it feels like they absolutely nailed it. Visual customization is perhaps a little bit more limited than I might have hoped. There's none of that weapon skin unlock as you might think of the core of an FPS game is featuring, but there are, on the other hand, seemingly loads of variations for the clone trooper weapon swap skins. The hero characters have more variations, many of them previously needing significant grinding to unlock, but now with this Celebration Edition, most are usable straight away, with only a few remaining locked as they were tied to actual specific events in game. On the whole, it feels a little uneven for player customization, then it does feel in keeping with the Star Wars world. My computer's slightly odd setup of a modern CPU and older GPU didn't really hinder Battlefront 2's performance much, even with the settings that it had, having the game look pretty good. Most of the settings were on high and the frame rates didn't really drop below 60 at all from memory. I'm sure with a more modern GPU, it wouldn't have an issue at all holding 3 figures. No player numbers here, and it's not on Steam after all, but the recent free giveaway on Epic Games would seem to have spiked player numbers. Anecdotally, I saw lobbies with loads of new players in. Also, the official Twitter account even had a tweet about spinning up more servers to deal with all the new players from the outside, and at the moment, the game would seem like it's in pretty rude health.
They blew that generator to pieces.
So, Battlefront 2, is it worth playing? As it is at the moment, a free game that you can claim from the Epic Games Store until the 21st of January 2021, Battlefront 2 is a lot of fun to play and well worth installing. This Celebration Edition does feel like something of a last hurrah for the title, looking back at the 20-odd content updates that the game had since launch, and new players can experience all that content for themselves without a massive time investment. The world building that you might expect from a game with DICE's name on it is everything you would want. Each time I load into a map that I've never seen before, it feels like a reflection of that space that I feel like I saw the first time on the movie screen. There's clearly a lot of time, attention and love gone into the smaller details that truly elevate the game. For the normal retail price of £34.99 in the UK, it feels like a little bit less sense to buy. This is a game at the end of its development cycle. Sure, you're getting all the unlocks and content, but that's around about the same as the launch price for this game in 2017. Is this something of a redemption arc for Battlefront 2? Well, the core game I played in beta all those years ago still feels here. It's just a shame that it was teamed with such, and let's diplomatically undersell it, troubled monetization and progression when it actually launched. The Celebration Edition is Battlefront 2 as it should have been. Maybe that does mean that, at least in some ways, and for some players, that it's redeemed itself. What do you think of Battlefront 2? Have you played it? Did you just grab it from the Epic Store and are deciding whether or not it's worth the download? Well, let me know your powerful thoughts and feelings by leaving a comment below right now. Like always, I'll be reading every single one of them. If you enjoyed this video, please do tap the thumb up button and the subscribe buttons. It really helps me out and you get told when the next video is ready. Those people who go the extra mile and tweet and post and Reddit and Facebook and all that stuff, then an extra special thank you. I see you and it is hugely appreciated. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.